of his smiling face are all indication of its extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on these transcendental forms of Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on Him by meditation.
Yes, okay. So one should meditate on the transcendental form of the Lord. Prabhupada is writing, it's a very interesting purport, very powerful purport. So Prabhupada is, this is the meditation of a yogi, but Prabhupada is relating with a sadhak, performing bhakti yoga. So Prabhupada in the first paragraph is comparing to impersonalist to a bhakti yogi, how the path of a impersonalist is so cumbersome, troublesome, and for devotees it's very easy. Then Prabhupada is writing, bhakti yoga includes jnana yoga also. Jnana yoga requires a purification of heart, but bhakti yoga automatically the heart gets purified. Prabhupada is writing here, the meditation on the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, the first processional step must show its effect by anartha nivritti. The grossest type of anartha which binds the conditions shown in the material existence is sex desire. And this sex desire gradually develops in the union of male and female. Okay? Ata grahshutre sotaptavitte jannasya moho ahamameti, myself and mine. Then Prabhupada is further writing, the conditioned soul is encircled by such products as well as products of sex desire, and therefore bhakti yoga leads to gradual evaporation of the sex desire, which is summarized in three headings, namely profit, adoration, and distinction. All conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire, and one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based primarily on sex desire. So Prabhupada is recommending that we should meditate for a long time on the lotus feet of the Lord, by which we will have anartha nivritti, and the grossest anartha is the sex desire. And if you are performing bhakti yoga nicely, this sex desire should evaporate. And the sex desire also manifests itself in the form of profit, adoration, and distinction. Subtle sex, okay? As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from the sex desire. The sex desire diminishes along with its various forms by the process of bhakti yoga, because bhakti yoga automatically by the grace of the Lord effectively results in the knowledge and renunciation. Janyati ashu vairagyam jnanam chayad ahetukam. Even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. Then Prabhupada is explaining what is knowledge, what is vairagya. Knowledge means what is favorable for my devotional service, what is not favorable. Giving up what is not favorable for my devotional service is called detachment or vairagya. Further down Prabhupada is writing, one who has a sex desire still with him should not at all try to accept the renounced order of life. For one who has not attained to this stage, there is no question of renounced order of life. So by gradual process of devotional service, under guidance of a proper spiritual master, and following the principles of Bhagavatam, one must be able at least to control the gross sex desire before one accepts the renounced order of life factually. Okay? So it may take time to clear off our mind with the traces of subtle sex desire, but at least we should be able to get rid of the gross sex desire. Okay? And then, and the last Prabhupada is writing,
2 days ago, I was hearing one of your lecture. In that you are mentioning the pastime of Srila Bhakti, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. In his dream that Prabhupada came and he was asking how many books you have distributed. But Prabhupada is asking, did you renounce of sex desire? Again Maharaj said, I have traveling throughout the world. I have renounced many things. And again Prabhupada asked same thing. So Prabhuji, then according to this purport also, this sex desire initially, latter, while one is totally engaged in devotional service and services to the Lord, generally initial stages before coming to bhakti or after coming to bhakti of initial stages, some kind of attractions that will be there, and after that, that will convert or change into profit, adoration, and fame. This purport is clearly saying. Then, how can we come to that stage of where Prabhuji, that example of Bhakti Tirth Swami Maharaj, is it happens, Prabhuji?
That was his Vyas Puja offering. In
No,
his
no.
Vyas Puja offering, he was saying that I met Prabhupada, I was offering I have done this much, but Prabhupada had only one question. Could you get rid of sex desire? So he was emphasizing the importance of purity. So we have so many achievements, but we should always be careful whether I'm getting purified or not. That was out of his humility he was mentioning that.
Huh. But practically, in my case, so is there a chance of achieving that stage?
Is it? Completely free from desire of profit, adoration, distinction. Only then we'll be able to go back to Godhead. It's not that I'll be going back to Golok with the desire of competing with Krishna. Okay, I'll go there, I'll become more famous than Krishna. With this desire, I cannot go back to Godhead. I will have more followers than Krishna. So we cannot go. Okay. Right.
No, my question is that, Prabhuji, is it chance that we can cross over these things and achieve pure devotional service in this very lifetime?
That's why we are here. Full chances are there, full hope. Asha Bandh. Okay. Okay, so Prabhupada is mentioning, yes, Prabhuji.
Even at the time of Prabhupada also, that renounce order is taken as a necessity, or renounce order is taken as a kind of freedom from material anxiety. So in that sense, the current renunciation, what is like, say, ISKCON, for example, that is not on that exact merit. So then in that case, we are not like exactly renunciates, or we are like trying to be like that, or how?
Yeah, you're right. We are more of missionaries, and for pushing ahead the mission, we are accepting this ashram. And then we may go into renounce order also. From brahmachari, we may go to sannyas ashram also. Only for the sake of pushing the mission ahead. And we may not be perfectly at this stage, what Prabhupada is mentioning. But Prabhupada is writing this, at least we should be getting free from the desire of gross sex. That much we should be there. At least if we have still for desire for gross sex, then we should not enter into renounce order. Subtle may take time, but the gross sex desire should not be there. Desire for having gross sex. Okay. That's what the purport was saying. But ideally speaking, we should be completely free. But it's a target for us. We should all endeavor for this. So Prabhupada is mentioning, if you follow those orders of the spiritual master, follow the principles of the Bhagavatam, we may be able to achieve that. And Prabhupada is mentioning that Lord's face is the 10th canto of the Lord. 10th canto of the Bhagavatam is the Lord's smiling face. And then Prabhupada is mentioning here, as one gets free from the intoxication of sex indulgence by purification of intelligence, one should step forward for the next meditation. Or in other words, the progress of the meditation on the different limbs of the transcendental body of the Lord should be enhanced in proportion to the progress of the purification of the heart. That means when we meditate on Radha Das Bihari, we should have start meditation from his lotus feet, and we should have for a very long time we should keep on meditating on the lotus feet, and gradually we should go up. When we feel our intelligence has been purified, then we go up, then we go up, then we go up. And when we are reaching to the smiling face of Radha Ras Bihari, that means now we are free from sex desire, then we can relish the Ras Leela. Till then, we should keep on focusing on the lotus feet. Prabhupada is mentioning ahead. The conclusion is that those who are still entrapped by the sex indulgence should never progress to the meditation above the feet of the Lord. Therefore, recital of Srimad Bhagavatam by them should be restricted to the first and the second canto of the great literature. One must complete the purification process by assimilating the contents of the first 9 cantos. Then one should be admitted in the realm of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't mean that Prabhupada is discouraging us not to go beyond second canto. It's not that, but it shows the importance of first 2 cantos. They are the lotus feet of the Lord. We should read it again and again and meditate upon them, and then we can move ahead. It's a very unique purport. Okay? Should we go ahead? Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, controlling the gross sex desire means getting free from gross sex desire, or what?
Yes, we must have all have realized also, when we came into Krishna consciousness, when we came in the association, when we came to Krishna consciousness, then our level of lust was high for gross sex, and gradually with the association of devotees, it is getting reduced. And now at least there may be some attraction for the opposite sex. We may not feel like spitting seeing a woman. Okay, we may have attraction for that, but we know it's not worth it. We know the goal of our life. So we are able to resist the temptation. So that way gradually we are getting rid of desire for gross sex. It's not so tempting now. But outside world, this is the main thing. People are mad after this. So now we are getting, by avoiding it and by avoiding it and with higher intelligence, we are getting purified and we are getting rid of this desire for gross sex. But still at the mental level, the attraction may be there. But we have that much of intelligence to control our mind and to not to go for the gross sex. By Krishna's, Guru Maharaj's mercy, we have that much of intelligence as of now. So we should increase that purification. The attraction for the opposite sex goes down, and then the subtle sex desire also goes down.
So this is what is mentioned in why first slok, Visahet Dhira, one has to tolerate.
One has to tolerate. Yeah.
So it's not exactly getting freed, but by intelligence he is able to curb.
As long as we have this body, agitation will always be there. But we should not aggravate this agitation, and we should tolerate it. Right? That is the status of a Madhyam Adhikari. The first verse of the NOI describes the Madhyam Adhikari. So that much we should have. Yeah. Okay. So now, next translation, please. Now this 13th verse will describe the dhyan on individual limbs. Okay? Yeah. Translation.
The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified.
Yeah. Now this yogi, although his intelligence is purer than that person who is meditating on the Virat form, but still he may have some impurities, but by meditating on the limbs of the Super Soul, his intelligence is getting purified. Okay, so next verse.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
In the previous purport, towards the end, first Prabhupada mentions about those people should restrict to first and second cantos, and then he says that you can go ahead and read 9 cantos
Yeah.
and not jump to the 10th.
Yeah.
So what is that? Should we go ahead with, after the second canto also, or should restrict to first and second canto only?
Actually, it's a comparison is given that the first 2 cantos are like the lotus feet of the Lord. So one should have, more meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord before moving ahead. So maybe we can read and study once or twice first and second canto, and then proceed to third and fourth canto. Because and then we have to assimilate then all the knowledge of ninth canto, and then we go to the 10th canto. Okay, I know some devotees, they're not going beyond the second canto at all. They're reading it again and again and again and again. So they refer to this purport only. And Prabhupada has written this. But Prabhupada has written at many places also that all the devotees are supposed to read my all books. So by this, and every time I'll say, no, I still have sex desire. So again I go to first canto, second canto. I mean, we should just see the purpose of this statement, that we should lay more focus on the first and the second canto. It talks about the creation, and then reading it thoroughly, understanding it thoroughly, the essence, and then we go to the next. And if required, we may read it again and again. That way, Okay, from here we'll read. Thus, I think this is the 4th paragraph, first, second, third paragraph. The more one concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord. Someone can read this.
The more one concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord, either on the lotus feet, the calves, the thighs, or the chest, the more one becomes purified. In this verse, it is clearly stated, the more the intelligence becomes purified, which means the more one becomes detached from sense gratification. Our intelligence in the present conditioned state of life is impure due to being engaged in sense gratification. The result of meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord will be manifested by one's detachment from sense gratification. Therefore, the ultimate purpose of meditation is purification of one's intelligence. Those who are too engrossed in sense gratification cannot be allowed to participate in archana or to touch the transcendental form of the Radha, Krishna, or Vishnu deities. For them, it is better to meditate upon the gigantic Virat Roop of the Lord, as recommended in the next verse. The impersonalists and the voidists are therefore recommended to meditate upon the universal form of the Lord, whereas the devotees are recommended to meditate on the deity worship in the temple. Because the impersonalists and the voidists are not sufficiently purified in their spiritual activities, archana is not meant for them.
Okay, good. Okay, yavanna jayet paravaresmin Vishveshware drishtira bhakti yoga Tavat sthaviya purushasya rupam Kriya vasane prayata smareta. Okay.
Translation. Unless the gross materialists develop a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and material worlds, he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties.
Okay. So if a person doesn't have any devotional inclination, then he should meditate upon the universal form of the Lord. Okay. So Prabhupada's purport is, if you see in the middle of the first paragraph, unfortunately the conditioned living entities.
Unfortunately, the conditioned living entities, although suffering continually the threefold miseries of conditioned life, are not very serious about going back to Godhead. It is due to their misguided way of living, complicated by sins and virtues. Some of them who are virtuous by deeds begin to re-establish the lost relation with the Lord, but they are unable to understand the personal feature of the Lord. The real purpose of life is to make contact with the Lord and be engaged in His service. That is the natural position of living entities. But those who are impersonalists and are unable to render any loving service to the Lord have been advised to meditate upon His impersonal feature, the Virata Rupa or universal form. Some way or other, one must try to re-establish one's forgotten relationship with the Lord if one at all desires to gain real happiness in life and to reclaim his natural, unfettered condition. For the less intelligent beginners, meditation on the impersonal feature, the Virata Rupa or universal form of the Lord, will gradually qualify one to rise to personal contact. One is advised herewith to meditate upon the Virata Rupa specified in the previous chapters in order to understand how the different planets, seas, mountains, rivers, birds, beasts, human beings, demigods, and all that we can conceive are but different parts and limbs of the Lord's Virata form. This sort of thinking is also a type of meditation on the absolute truth. And as soon as such meditation begins, one develops one's godly qualities, and the whole world appears to be a happy and peaceful residence of all the people of the world. Without such meditation on God, either personal or impersonal, all good qualities of the human being become covered with misconceptions regarding his constitutional position, and without such advanced knowledge, the whole world becomes a hell for the human being.
Okay. So if one doesn't have such kind of inclination for serving the Lord, he should go for the Virat Roop meditation and how it purifies, that Prabhupada is mentioning. Okay. Now the meditation process of this yogi who meditates on the super soul and how he gets liberated. So there are total 4 subject matters in the first 2 chapters. 2 types of yogis, one who meditates on the Virat Roop and one who meditates on the Paramatma. Okay. The description of Virat Roop is one topic. Then how this yogi gets liberated, that is the second topic. Description of the super soul was the third topic, that is also covered. Now 2 topics are left. How these 2 yogis get liberated. Liberation of a detached yogi and liberation of a attached yogi. Now from 15 to verse 21, liberation of the detached yogi is described. The one who meditates on the super soul. Okay. Sthiram sukham cha sanamasito yatir yada jihasur imam angalokam kale cha deshe cha mano na sanjiyet pranan yache na manasa jitasu. Okay.
O king, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed and, regulating the life air, should control the senses by the mind.
Yeah. So we read the Krishna Chakram's commentary. Yeah. You're not able to read? Next time I will highlight with the lighter color. Yeah.
When he desires to give up the body, lokam, he should not be attached to time such as Uttarayan or holy places. For the yogi, time and place are not cause of perfection. Yoga alone is the cause of perfection. With a great determination, he controls the sense pranan by the mind.
Continue.
This implies he merges the subtle senses in the mind.
Like in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that also describes the Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So there are 2 paths are given, the path of light and path of darkness. Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. The Uttarayan will go to the higher planets. Dakshinayan, path of darkness, he will go to the heavenly planets and enjoy here. Okay. But for a real yogi, it doesn't matter. whatever the time, whatever is the place. So this yogi who meditates on the super soul, for him it doesn't matter what is the time or what is the place. Okay, that is what is being repeated here. Okay, 16th verse. Manasa buddhya malaya nemaya क्षेत्रज्ञ एताम निर्णयेतम आत्मनि आत्मनानाम आत्मनि अवरुद्ध्य धीरो लब्धोपशांतिर विरमते कृतात्. Yes, translation please.
Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence into the living entity, and then merge the living entity into the super self. And by doing this, the fully satisfied living entity becomes situated in the supreme stage of satisfaction, so that he ceases from all other activities.
Yeah, purport.
The functions of the mind are thinking, feeling, and willing. When the mind is materialistic or absorbed in material contact, it acts for material advancement of knowledge, destructively ending in discovery of nuclear weapons. But when the mind acts under the spiritual urge, it acts wonderfully for going back home, back to Godhead, for life in complete bliss and eternity. Therefore, the mind has to be manipulated by good and unalloyed intelligence. Perfect intelligence is to render service unto the Lord. One should be intelligent enough to understand that the living being is, in all circumstances, a servant of the circumstances. Every living being is serving the dictates of desire, anger, lust, illusion, insanity, and enviousness, all materially affected. But even while executing such a dictation of different temperaments, he is perpetually unhappy. When one actually feels this and turns his intelligence to inquiring about it from the right source, he gets information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Instead of serving materially for the above mentioned different humors of the body, the living entity's intelligence then becomes freed from the unhappy illusion of materialistic temperament. And thus, by unalloyed intelligence, the mind is brought into the service of the Lord. The Lord and his service are identical, being on the absolute plane. Therefore, the unalloyed intelligence and the mind are merged into the Lord, and thus the living entity does not remain a seer himself, but becomes seen by the Lord transcendentally. When the living entity is directly seen by the Lord dictates to him to act according to his desire. And when the living entity follows him perfectly, the living entity ceases to discharge any other duty for his illusory satisfaction. In his pure unalloyed state, the living being attains the stage of full bliss, labdhopashanti, and ceases all material hankerings.
So Prabhupada is giving altogether a devotional angle, merging of mind into intelligence, intelligence into the soul, soul into the super soul. That is the Ashtanga Yoga process. But Prabhupada is describing from the Bhakti Yoga process. The mind means thinking, feeling, and willing. So by intelligence, we engage thinking, feeling, and willing in the service of the Lord. So by this, we are merging mind and intelligence into the Supreme Lord. Okay? And then because we are engaged in the service of the Lord, then we just become seen by the Lord. That means there is a communication starts between the super soul and the soul. You know, as long as the living entity is engaged, is vimukha, is not serving the Lord, is turned away from the Lord, there is no communication. The Lord is not in a way seeing the super soul. Super soul is not seeing the soul. But when it completely aligned himself, then becomes seen by the super soul, and that way, labhop shanti, he gets the peace. Okay? Okay. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, so it starts first with thinking, feeling, and willing results in accept or reject. Before accepting and rejecting, it goes through thinking, feeling, and willing. I want this, I don't want this. This is the desire, willing. So before how this develops, he first thinks about it, feel, and then willing.
A devotee in the Bhagavatam class
Hi, Prabhu.
A devotee in the Bhagavatam class said that all the 8 limbs of yoga
Yeah.
are there in chanting of Hare Krishna also.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have to reach those stages while doing matlab, our breathing and all those that should be also achieved by chanting.
Yeah,
How do you make
so
of that?
yam is there, niyam is there, 4 regulatory principles. Yam is there, niyam means sit straight, posture should be right. And then you asan, you sit,
Pranayam.
pranayam.
Like if we are sincerely chanting, hearing and listening, so we are also achieving all those stages
Yes, yes.
simultaneously.
Yes, and you go into samadhi also. So, chanting is so blissful, we reach samadhi straight away without feeling patyahar or anything. Yeah, we have to do that.
Second question is like on the meditation. So do we have to like make a separate effort to meditate on the form of Krishna? Like
Yes,
there are many seminars in ISKCON on how to meditate on form of Krishna, and like we
Yes,
regularly hear.
we can practice that. We can practice that. You know, when we are having a darshan of the deities, so when we go back, while serving, we can remember the lotus feet of the Radharas Bihari. These days we can click a photo and see, we can remind ourselves again and again. So that's very purifying.
What I feel, Prabhuji, personally, that when we think of the form of the Lord, then that is very helpful.
Yes, very helpful.
That sticks in the mind very deeply,
Yeah,
and then that is very helpful in
Yes,
Anartha
yes.
Nivritti more.
Yes,
So
yes.
is that
That's what Prabhupada is also mentioning. And especially pujaris in ISKCON, if they are serving the deities very nicely as per the regulations, they are benefited the most because they can easily contemplate how I dress the Lord, what kind of a pagadi I did that. So they can easily contemplate on the form of the Lord, which can very easily, extinguish all their sinful reactions, their bad propensities. Very easy to get rid of that.
this can be more encouraged in ISKCON?
Yeah. In fact, Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Thakur Maharaj recommends that when we are chanting, so on each beat we meditate that we are holding to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. And then saying, please accept me, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So we are catching hold of the lotus feet of the Lord Chaitanya. So that way it's very helpful. So our chanting also doesn't remain mechanical. We can do that.
Prabhuji, Pareshanubhuti, previously, now it is Labdopashanti.
Yeah.
There is something called Pareshanubhuti, Adhyatmika Anubhuti,
Yeah.
which comes in Satam Prasangam Vedas.
Yeah. Bhakti Parishanubhava Virakti Nanastacha.
So,
Yeah.
and Brahma Saukhyam to Anantam.
Yeah.
So, all these are same or in different level?
Same, more or less same. Yes.
This is for attached yogi.
This is for detached yogi.
Detached yogi.
Yeah. He's directly meditating on the super soul.
Okay.
The fourth kind of yogi. Rare yogi who directly meditates on the super soul.
So he is here merging mind into intelligence, intelligence into soul. This is Brahma Saukyam, or is it is a Vaishnavas?
No, this is Ashtanga Yoga. Prabhupada is explaining from the devotional angle. But it's Ashtanga Yoga. Senses into the mind, mind into the intelligence, intelligence into the soul, soul into the super soul.
This also is a Pareshanubhuti. This is also...
what is that? That's what being described. So that will lead to Brahm realization. That's what we are discussing. It will come more.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
The liberation which is mentioned here means there are two kind of Brahman realization which I heard. One of the Brahman realization where the yogi or the Jnani whatever merges into Brahman itself, and the another kind of merging is explained where one merges into the body of the Lord,
Yeah.
which is considered even more dangerous than the
Yes, yes.
Brahman. So this is that similar only or that different?
No, I mean, as per the commentaries, it is in the Brahma effulgence, not in the body of the Lord.
Soul is going to the super soul, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that way, but next verses will describe more. And you know, Brahma effulgence. Yeah, okay. नायत्र काले अनिमिषां परा प्रभो कुतो न देवा जगतां य ईशरे. What happens? What he gets? Param padam vaishnav amananti tad yat neti neti atad utsikshava विसृज्य दोरात्मयन अनन्य सोहृदा हृदोपगुयार्ह पदम पदम पदे पदे पदम पदे पदे. Yes, Prabhuji.
The transcendentalists desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities, but worships the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart.
Okay. So this person, this yogi who has seen the personal form of the Lord, becomes attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, and then he sees everything in the world in relation with the Lord. And he says, neti, neti, neti. This is not related with the Lord, this is not related with the Lord. So he only wants to focus on the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. And by this, he achieves what? Paramam Padam Vaishnavam. He achieves the Brahm effulgence. Okay. So, Prabhupada, like, commentary of Vishwanath Thakur, we read here.
Why do the gunas not exist in him? He is superior to Prakriti,
Paramam.
He has attained the impersonal form of Vishnu, Vaishnavam Padam. This is famous, but the devotees understand this much more than they need to. Desiring to give up the false world, Atat, they know completely
Amananti,
that Brahman, which is defined as not this. What do they do to attain this? They give up the bad intelligence, Dauratmayam, of the jnanis involved in impersonal Brahman alone. How? They do not have affection for things not related to Vishnu, Ananya Saharada. The yogis embrace the lotus feet of Vishnu, who is worthy of worship, Aha, at every moment with his heart, considering that as all in all. When they desire to realize only the Brahman aspect of the Lord, they desire to give up the Atat, everything except that. But they do not give up the visible world because it is useful for serving the Lord. Thus the words desire to give rather than give up are used. The word Dauratmayam means those fools who think that the body of Vishnu is material.
So it's a very typical situation. He has got attached to the lotus feet of the Vishnu, Super Soul. He has a such beautiful darshan of the Super Soul, but still he wants to merge into the Brahma effulgence. That is his misfortune. But still, he is better than all those Duratmayams who think that the Lord's form is material or imaginary. Okay? Who thinks like that. And he does not want to have anything in this world which is not related with the Brahman. But he's not saying Brahm Satya Jagat Mithya, but he says no, this is not related with the Lord, Neti, Neti, Neti. He's not a typical Mayavadi who says Neti, 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 Brahm Satyam Jagat Mithya. No, it's not that. He says no, it is not related with my Lord, so I won't accept it. So, but he only wants to always meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord with the purpose of merging into the Brahm effulgence. Okay. It's a very unfortunate situation for him. He has reached so far, but his objectives remain the same, that I want to merge. Why it is so? What was required for him to become a devotee? Devotee, association of devotees. So one cannot become a devotee without the mercy of a devotee. So he's so qualified, so renounced, everything is there, but he couldn't receive the mercy of the devotee. That's why still his aim of life is to merge into the Brahm effulgence. So for all these jnanis, to be a jnani, to be a yogi, to be a devotee, it requires some qualifications. So for devotee, mercy of the devotee is required. For a jnani and yogi, we should have a purified heart. So he had a purified heart. That's why he could see the super soul within his heart. But because of the lack of association of devotees, mercy of the devotees, he still had that objective to merge into the Brahma effulgence. So Prabhupada is writing the Duratmyam Shabbat, here is that. This paragraph. So the Vaikuntha planets are factually
the supreme residential places called the Param Padam. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti is also called the Param Padam due to its being the rays of the Vaikuntha planets, as the sun rays are the rays of the sun. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.27, it is clearly said that the impersonal Brahma Jyoti rests on the person of the Lord. And because everything rests on the Brahma Jyoti directly and indirectly, everything is generated from the Lord. Everything rests on Him, and after annihilation, everything is merged in Him only. Therefore, nothing is independent of Him. A pure devotee of the Lord, non-Brahman, because he knows perfectly well that the Lord, Para-Brahman, by his Brahman energy, is interwoven in everything, and thus everything is looked upon by a devotee as the property of the Lord. The devotee tries to engage everything in his service and does not create perplexities by falsely lording it over the creation of the Lord. He is so faithful that he engages himself as well as everything else in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In everything, the devotee sees the Lord, and he sees everything in the Lord. The specific disturbance created by a Duratma or a crooked soul is due to his maintaining that the transcendental form of the Lord is something material.
Okay, right. Okay. Should we stop here? Okay, we stop here. Any questions or comments? Yeah.
Generally, I heard that generally, see, everyone wants mukti. Mukti, generally in household life, in household common to day, I heard that, see, I am vexed of all these kind of things. I want mukti so that I'll be peaceful. I don't need to do anything. But here, it's liberation is in action. What exactly is?
Yeah, so liberation for devotees means hitva anarth rupen sarupena vyavasthita. For this. For the impersonalists, it's sayujya, spiritual suicide. Just be inactive. Shanti, shanti, shanti. So that's why generally people look for shanti, moksha, relief from all kind of miseries is liberation. That's what they want. That's a general conception, but for the Vaishnavas, it's not. Yeah.
These are the people who are coming.
So, these are detached yogi, right?
We'll see the diagram again when we meet at 2:30. So this is a detached yogi, one who's meditating on the super soul.
This side we got.
Yeah.
This side is attached one.
Attached.
In the diagram.
Yeah.
So they come to which mukti? There are 5 types of muktis, right?
Huh.
So they are discriminating Brahman from non-Brahman.
Yeah.
These detached yogis. Which type of mukti they get into?
They're going for sayujya.
Sayujya.
Yeah.
So people who come to Sarupya, Samipya, these muktis are?
They are also muktis. So how they attain this kind of mukti, you're saying? This can be by the mercy of the Lord, like Lord granted this mukti to Kansa, Pondrak, And specific yogis, the yogis also can get sarupa and saloka if they meditate upon that. I want this sarupa, they also can get.
These people, they meditated initially on the Virat form.
No.
And then they came to Super Soul.
No, this is being described Kechit, the word Kechit, the fourth type of yogi, directly on the Super Soul.
Okay.
So whether directly or indirectly, whatever it is, those who are meditating on the Super Soul, depends on their desire. Some of the yogis can become devotees also, with the association of devotees. Normally, what is described here is Paramam Padam, the last verse we discussed, is Brahm effulgence. But the yogis may desire the same form of the Lord.
When we say detached, means no desires, right?
Detached means they don't have material desires of enjoying this material world.
This Samipya, Sarupa is also desire?
That way, merging into Brahma effulgence is also desire. But desire means desire of enjoying in this material world. So those yogis who are not completely purified, they still have a desire to enjoy in this material world. So they'll go to different planetary systems and then they'll go.
That is, we'll be discussing next.
Yeah.
So I'm just, by this detached yogi, one who meditates on Super Soul, he gets Sayujya Mukti.
Yeah. It is mentioned here, but if the yogi wants, if he meditates in the form of the Lord, that I want Sarupa or Saloka, he can get that kind of Mukti also. But here it is mentioned Paramam Padam as Brahma effulgence.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.